wasting hours Googling. Get expert answers in one evening. You could spend months scrolling forums, second guessing diets, and piecing together advice that just doesn't work. Or you could spend one evening at the Allergy and Gut Health Summit and get direct guidance from world-class experts who understand allergy mums' struggles. Save your time, your sanity, and your energy. Walk away with clear, evidence-based answers for your child. Hi, I'm Emma Sutherland, clinical naturopath, author, mum, and your host. With over 20 years in clinical practice, I've helped thousands of women and their families transform their health using evidence-based integrative strategies. Now, I'm deeply passionate about making science simple and actionable so that you feel confident and empowered in your health decisions. This channel is your go-to for trusted insights, expert conversations, and practical tools that support your real-life wellness. Today, I'm joined by Sharon Selby, an allergy health coach, founder of Deliciously Allergy Free, and someone who has helped thousands of families globally transform their kids' health through gut healing and natural strategies. Sharon's passion for this work started with her own son's health challenges. And from there, she developed her signature H.E.A.L protocol. Highlight, eliminate, activate, liberate. That has empowered families to overcome eczema, asthma, food intolerances, and more. In this conversation, we're going to dive into her approach, why it plays such a central role in allergies and immunity, and what practical steps families can take to start seeing real changes. Sharon and I are also both speaking at the upcoming Allergy and Gut Health Summit, so we'll give you a sneak peek into what you can expect there as well. Sharon, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Me too. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure. Now, I would love to know first up if you could share what first inspired you to focus on healing gut health, because it's a very tricky area to work. So, what was it that got you into this space?
Yeah, so very unconsciously got into this space. It wasn't something I was seeking. It got to a point where my own health was so bad 14 years ago, where I was on a lot of prescribed medications, steroids, and the symptoms kept building up, and so did the medications as well. And it was only after 2 years of feeling utterly miserable and getting the final diagnosis of severe depression that I suddenly thought, hang on, I can't keep going like this. And I needed a big wake up call to wake up, because at the time I was a new mum, and I think we naturally think that our health and our energy and our mood declines because we're not sleeping well. Our babies get sick, so we get sick. So everything seemed rational. And the snowball of incremental illness, it's so subtle until it gets really bad. And then I got this wake up call, and it required my GP, after doing a questionnaire, being very sympathetic and saying, oh, here's something else now. And that's a moment I had. And I took the script. We talked about a mental health care plan, getting a therapist, getting more medication. And I agreed on all that. But when I went home and went to sleep that night, I couldn't shake off this feeling that I could do something. But I wasn't trained as a health coach. I knew nothing about nutrition. I didn't even know how to cook. I was just desperate for change. So the next morning I woke up and I decided to, I think as a last bid of control that I had over my life. I had no control over my health, my happiness, because that just wasn't there. I had no control over my career or business at the time. That was non-existent. But the one thing I could control was what I ate. And I just thought, I'll take out dairy, gluten, sugar. And I'm just going to add a few more fruit and vegetables to my diet. I'm just going to do this for 2 weeks. I had no idea why I decided to do that. So I did that. And in 2 weeks, I started feeling quite a lot better. So the headaches that I was getting, the migraines I was getting immediately stopped. I stopped getting sick. I started having a bit more energy. And I thought, oh, this is good. I still didn't really know it was the food, but I thought, you know what? Whatever I'm doing seems to make me feel better. I'll keep going. And then within 5 months, and I did it for 5 months because every day I started feeling a bit better. And after 3 months, I stopped having hay fever, half of my steroids. And then I was like, okay, if that happened, I'm actually going to try and get rid of my asthma. And I wasn't working with anyone. And I went ahead and carried on. And then after 5 months was symptom free, medication free, my GP could not believe the results because my asthma and hay fever was so bad because I was so allergic to pollen and dust. At the time, they said, your best option is actually to leave Sydney because it's the asthma capital of the world and you are struggling. And what was interesting, and even then, after the 5 months, even then, because I still didn't know about nutrition, I was still questioning, has that got anything to do with my diet changing? Or did I just get used to living in Australia? So even I was hardcore, dead set, food doesn't change anything, medication is the way to go. So I had to go and find out the truth. And that's when I studied nutrition for a year and accidentally became a health coach. It wasn't something that I was planning to do. And then in my community, people could start seeing changes in me and they wanted some of that. And so then I started helping clients one-on-one. And that's how I began. And did that answer your question?
It did. And I always think that so many profound and passionate practitioners come from personal experience first. So I really love that it came from you learning first and from you completely changing your own paradigm into understanding how food really can be medicine and how food is so profound on the impact with our health.
And to answer your question, how did I get into gut health? So even at that stage, after the 5 months, didn't know about gut health. And this was 14 years ago. It was only when my second son was born, because once I got rid of all the symptoms and all the medication, I then felt comfortable to try and have a baby. And I was in my late 30s then, and it happened straight away, which also was interesting. And so then I thought, okay, now I know all about nutrition. I've studied nutrition, and I learned all about how to raise a really healthy baby. And I couldn't wait, and I was going to slow down, and I thought this is going to be amazing. Then my baby was born, and he introduced me to the world of reflux, eczema, and multiple food allergies and food intolerances. And what that meant was everything that I had done to help myself was not enough for him. I had to go deeper because he not only was allergic to cow's milk protein and eggs, he was also very intolerant to salicylates to an extent where if I gave him a fruit, he would throw up and get full body hives straight away. And so weaning him was horrendous. And because I was breastfeeding, we ended up both being on a very restricted diet of about 10 safe foods where he wouldn't vomit and get eczema, and it wouldn't vomit and get hives, and it wouldn't aggravate his eczema. But he had eczema, and I was cutting out so many foods and I couldn't understand what was going on. So I had to dive deeper and learn all about gut health. And that's where I learned skills, really leveled up my skills in cooking, what's fermented foods, broths, slow cooked meals, really cooking traditionally and going back to basics. And I really treated food as medicine. I never gave him the squeezy pouches. I never gave him the crackers. Every meal was an opportunity. And I thought, you know what? It's restricting now, but I'm going to benefit. And so is he in the long run. And it's true. When he reached 18 months old, he could eat raw eggs. He could eat anything he wanted. He didn't react. And life was amazing. And it was so worth that effort.
It's incredibly liberating for a family to have that level of freedom after being so restricted. And I know that you've taken all of your experience and your knowledge and you've got a protocol called the H.E.A.L protocol, which is the highlight, eliminate, activate, liberate method. So how can parents practically use it to support their children's well-being?
Yeah, so I love this protocol. It was years in the making to come up with this great H.E.A.L analogy, which is perfect. But what I want to share is the choices we make at home with our diet, our lifestyle, the toxins we are exposed to, they all massively impact our immune system and our gut health. So that's what I really learned in depth with Cooper. So H in my gut health course, H means highlight. So I had to highlight the things that were triggering him, whether it was aggravating his eczema or making him vomit, or his reflux. He had separation anxiety. What were the things that were contributing to that? And unfortunately, with food intolerances, there's a lot of delayed reactions, compound reactions, and things like that. So it made it quite difficult. So at the time I worked out there's no real concrete test for this, for food intolerances. So I just used the standard food and symptom diary. And that's where I worked out, oh, blimey, when he gets access to salicylate food, which were new to me, but the high and medium one, he react. So that's what highlight is. It's highlighting what are the triggers. And eczema, I have so many eczema mums on my course because that's when we relate symptoms with the foods we're eating. With asthma, we may not even consider it, or hay fever. Like, who would pinpoint the two together? I certainly didn't. But with eczema, that's when mums and people can work out there's a correlation. So highlighting those foods, that's a key one. And to save people a lot of trouble, dairy and gluten are big inflammatory foods. So even if you're allergic to, say, almonds, and you're like, I'm not allergic to cow's milk or gluten, if you keep those in the diet and you want to try and overcome those allergies, those foods are keeping your system inflamed. It's identifying the allergies, which you obviously do with a practitioner. But when it comes to food intolerances, I already feel a mum is very well equipped. In fact, I knew the things that were affecting my son. I didn't always want to believe it, though.
I think that I always say to mums, you know your child better than anybody else in this whole entire world. And that instinct with mums and that intuition is so incredibly powerful. And I love that, maybe a bit old fashioned, but it is so helpful, a food and symptom diary. I always think that's the first place for a mum to start with things, just to start tracking and identifying, because it always feels like everything is outside of your control in these kind of situations. And by doing that food and symptom diary, you can start clawing back a little bit of control of the situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think mums do need to feel more empowered. And that's what I share in my course. It's all about actually empowering mums. People like you, the naturopaths, the doctors, they come up with the treatment plans and get the test results and can really advise where to go. But it's, what do you do at home? And it really counts. So if you can't deliver what you do at home, the treatment can take longer or may not be as effective. So then you've got the highlight, then you've got to eliminate those foods. And when I was in the thick of Cooper with all of his food allergies and intolerances, I couldn't find support because I didn't know people that were in the same situation as me, because Cooper was like a ticking time bomb. So I went online on Facebook groups, and I found thousands of moms in the similar situation. And in those Facebook groups, over time, I noticed these kids get worse because mums were eliminating the trigger foods, but what they were substituting it with were not high quality foods. Free gluten, egg-free birthday cake with 60 additives and nothing fresh wasn't good. So a lot of these kids would get sicker with more symptoms. Whereas after stage highlight and eliminate, Cooper actually started getting better, because when you can take out those inflammatory triggers, that's when you get relief. The third step in the system, activate, is where I think a lot of treatment plans conventionally in modern medicine is missing, is we want to rehabilitate the gut, because with lifelong elimination, or let's eliminate for, I don't know, a few months, a year, or a few weeks, that's hard work. So I like to work smart, not hard, and I want to really activate the gut and boost the immune system and do all the things to drive down that inflammation. Because when we actively do that while we're eliminating those foods, we have a far better chance of bringing those foods back in without the reaction. And that's the final step, liberate. The goal is to be free from food restriction, free from symptoms, free from even medications. And that is the goal. So H.E.A.L, highlight, eliminate, activate, and liberate.
And I love that. Very grounded. And the research would definitely back that up. And you talk about this concept of gardening with steps like weed, seed, feed. Can you give us an overview of that?
Yes, because as I mentioned, I'm not a practitioner and primarily a mum. So things have to be really easy to understand. And I find when things are really simple, that's how we can remember things easily and actually put ideas and theories and strategies in place. So weed, seed, and feed really means weeding out. Step one is weeding out all the things that are not making us well, like all the inflammatory triggers. So with food, I often say to most people I work with, gluten and dairy just aren't serving you. So weed those out. But so the weed, seed, and feed is all about optimizing gut health. We want to weed out the foods that are feeding your pathogens, your viruses, your yeast, and fungus in the gut. So how do you do that? You solve those foods because we're feeding those pathogens way too much in our modern diet, in our highly processed diet. And those pathogens, they love processed sugary foods, highly refined carbs, fried foods, all the things we love. Those unfortunate pathogens love them too. So as we eat them, we're feeding them. So we want to weed out those, we want to get that gut dysbiosis of bad bacteria down so we can have more good bacteria. Very hard if we are feeding them all the time. And a bit like weeds in a garden, weeds grow, they're so opportunistic, and plants will take ages to, my flowers, they're hard work and they take ages to bloom. Get a weed and it is growing super fast, getting all the shine, absorbing all the nutrients from the soil. And that's how our pathogens work. And that's how I visualize it in my head. So the great thing about knowing that is often we rely on motivation and willpower to eat well. Oh, I really want this pizza. I know it's not going to make me feel good, but I'll eat it and I'll start on Monday. But when you actually know why that pizza is going to make you feel bad, and if you're dealing with a child that's got health issues, whether it's mental health issues or eczema or whatever it is, or digestive issues, and you know that's going to create that cycle getting worse, then you can really make a conscious decision of whether you're going to feed the bad bacteria or not. So me, now that I don't have my health issues anymore, I'm in a maintenance stage. So I will consciously and thoroughly enjoy having pizza once in a while. And I won't feel bad about it. And because my gut is in good shape, I don't get any reaction. But if I bring that in every week, I'll probably start developing those symptoms again. So I need to be quite careful. Then says weeding out the bad bacteria. Then we want to seed the gut with good bacteria. So this is all the probiotics. Oh, over the generations, 3 or 4 generations, we've managed to wipe out a third of our bacteria diversity in the gut. And it's taken civilization thousands of years to develop. We've managed to wipe a lot of that out with antibiotics and various toxins and lifestyle choices and food choices. So we're starting on a less strong foundation. So we've got to actually actively start bringing these things back in. Previous generations had fermented foods. We don't even do that now. At best, we may be popping some probiotics in. So what I learned is how to make fermented foods from home, because there's nothing better than making homemade. And they are the easiest things to make. So I'll make probiotic-rich ice blocks, coconut yogurt, apple kefirs. My kids love them, and it's literally apple juice that I've squeezed and a culture starter. Wait 48 hours, done. And I feel so good. So that's seeding. So what we're doing is we're reducing the amount of pathogens. We're putting in good bacteria in the gut. And the final stage is feeding that good bacteria. A lot of our good bacteria is starving. And what do good bacteria love to eat, as your audience will probably know very well, is fiber. So plants, plant food, vegetables, fruit, legumes, gluten-free grains, the whole food version, not the processed version. That's an all-you-can-eat buffet for good bacteria. And science says to have optimum immunity, we need to be eating 30 different types of plant-based fiber a week. So most people are like, oh my gosh, how can I do that if my child would rather eat a stock over a salad?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's always starting with small steps, adding one new vegetable to the shopping basket every week. Because even for me, we get in the same pattern of choosing the same vegetables each week. It's no, just put one new vegetable in the shopping basket each week is fantastic. And I call it microbiome conservation. Like we're really trying to bring back this kind of eco forest of good bacteria back to life and bringing the diversity up again. And food really can be medicine in this space. The literature is quite clear on how different types of fiber facilitate our diversity. But when it comes to things like you mentioned for yourself, your use of medications really reduced to inhalers or antihistamines and steroids. And I really see in my own clinical practice that use or reliance on medication does reduce. But what do you think the role of food and lifestyle play in that process?
I just feel that our diet either contributes to inflammation or drives it down. And 95% of all disease is lifestyle driven. So there's a lot of symptoms that we're managing with medication, but it's not really effective.
Yeah.
And even if it does help numb the symptoms at best, unfortunately, that inflammation is still building up inside. So when I speak to my mums who are dealing with eczema, of course, they're horrified by the symptoms of the skin being inflamed, red, and itchy. What concerns me more, if that's happening on the skin, what's happening inside? And that to me is if you deal with the inflammation inside, the skin will naturally heal.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And the unfortunate situation with eczema that we see time and time again is that the topical steroid strength just keeps getting increased because we become less that they become less efficient over time and the skin gets a rebound effect where it actually gets worse when you stop using them. So while they can be good in the short term, in the long term, they really don't do the job because we're not working from that internal side of things as well. Now, you and I have an event coming up in just over about a month or so on allergies, and we've got it at the Sydney Masonic Centre. I'm super excited about this, the Allergy and Gut Health Summit. By the way, if you're watching and want the full picture, I'll put the link to grab a ticket below because seats are very limited. But my question to you is how do you see the future of combining nutrition strategies like the ones spoken about with medical therapies to help families suffering from allergies? So we're talking specifically food allergies.
I think it's a really exciting direction where we're going. And I think the event we're holding, I'm surprised we haven't seen events like this before.
Agreed.
First of its kind, where beautifully and about time, medicine and nutrition are talking. And for me, nutrition, I'm so into nutrition that I can sometimes dismiss medicine, but there is definitely a place for both. And
Yes.
I think the medical approach can be optimized massively by nutrition and vice versa. You can use both modalities. For me, I got to a stage where I actually got scared of medicine, but allergies are so restrictive to live with. And food is something to be able to take food for granted is a real privilege. When you come from an allergy background, to not be able to take food for granted and to be scared and frightened and anxious by it. Having medicine involved to desensitize. So that's what Dr. Douglas Jones does in the States, and he's coming to speak at the event. I think that's really exciting, but I still feel nutrition is paramount because having allergies, having eczema, having food intolerances, having things even like ADHD or other issues, they are so common now,
Yeah.
but they're not normal.
Mm.
When things are not right. And when kids are young as parents, we're really concerned about our children's immune health. We don't want every time they get a reoccurring ear infection, we're worried they've taken time off school, they need antibiotics, whatever that is. We're very hypervigilant about the immune system. When kids get older, that changes. The immune system is fun compared to mental health issues.
Mm.
And if we don't address these issues early, allergies is a sign of inflammation for me. I don't know the correct term exactly, but it means things are not quite right. So with food intolerances, so is constipation, so with enlarged tonsils. All of these common childhood health issues, signs of inflammation, and we ignore them at our peril. When women or mums have newborns and their babies have colic and reflux and they're told to, told to wait 3 months, I find that criminal. That's your first time things are not quite right. And a poor mum has to go through all of that experience and it's torturous.
Yeah. As the mom of a daughter who had severe reflux and cow's milk protein allergy, it was probably one of the hardest times in my life dealing with a newborn and a small child that was constantly in pain. And I didn't know about the cow's milk allergy. It's a
Right.
nightmare. So I really have a lot of empathy for families in the allergy area. I really do. And there's 1 in 20 kids in Australia have an allergy, and we are the allergy capital of the world. And I can't believe that the medical and the nutritional hasn't come together, the best of both worlds before now, which is why I'm so excited about this event. Any allergy family is welcome at this event. We really want to share the groundbreaking information and treatments available that, people are told your child has an allergy. Here's an EpiPen. See you later. They're not told that there is a way, there's a path to food freedom that is available. So I really feel for these families, and I know both of us are deeply passionate about helping families have a more liberated life in many ways. Not just food, but liberation from fear and constant worry as well is a huge one.
It completely affects the quality of your life.
Yeah.
And what I love about our event is we really targeted every angle. You've got the explanation of how gut health impacts the immune system. And then also, how do you apply some of this knowledge at home? So straight away, when you finish that evening, you've got strategies that you can start working on straight away that are actually rather simple and easy to do.
Yeah.
And to have the difference between raising my son Cooper and helping him outgrow his allergies compared to a lot of the mums I met in those Facebook groups, there was a massive level of anxiety. Because I knew, because I was empowered with knowledge and information, I didn't have to live off hope or waiting. I was anxious, but I was able to take my anxiety and put it into action. And that's
Yes.
empowering. And unfortunately, so many of our mums and women were so disempowered.
Yes. As somebody who is deeply seated to empower mums to help regain control of their kids' health, what are the common mindset blocks that you see in mums?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Thank you for asking. The biggest ones I see are limiting beliefs. So I might say something like, and I would never say it, I have to know if a person is ready to hear it. Otherwise, it's more damaging than helpful. But for many times, I would see kids with the allergy shiners, snotty noses, sneezing, EpiPens in the bag. And when I first started out, I was like a born again Christian. I wanted everyone what to do. And I would be like, dairy and gluten, they're really triggering this. And I'm just trying to eliminate it. I was very inexperienced. And the look of horror on his face was like, I'm barely keeping it together. How do you expect me to take out the two biggest food groups? No way. I'm going to I can only manage this. And that's fair enough. But every mum who's made these changes, and there's different ways to go about it, but every time they've done an elimination diet or cooked more whole foods or they think their kids didn't want to eat, but they end up actually eating, they've always said, it was easier than I thought, and I actually enjoyed it. I mean, we as mothers will release serotonin every time our kids eat well. And we rip ourselves off when we give the packet foods. We don't get that same level of serotonin. It's in our nature to want to see our kids eat well because we know we are helping them to thrive. That's our goal as moms. So that would be a limiting belief is I can't do this, or it's going to be too hard, or my kids won't do it. And in some cases, that's the case. So what I say to mums then is, you know what, just forget about your kids for a little bit and let's focus on you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and let's have you, because I've no doubt that she's struggling with fatigue, anxiety, maybe renal issues, thyroid issues, or words, or perimenopause symptoms. And then she's so devoted to helping her child that she's also a mess, unfortunately. So what I say is learn the experience, check out the recipes, do it for you. And luckily, my journey required me fixing myself or supporting myself before my child. And that meant I had the confidence, the empowerment, the knowledge, and I had the resilience, and I had the energy and all the experience to do it.
I'm always saying to moms, put your own oxygen mask on first. I need to do XYZ for you first, and then we will look at treating your child because we're both mums. You get mama guilt no matter what you do. And so the thing is, if you just spend a little bit of that energy on yourself first and just top up that fuel tank a little bit, you can pour from a fuller cup. You're not as depleted at the end of the day. So I love that you have that focus. And I think that focus comes from both of us from having lived in this space, and we know what it's like to be burnt out, exhausted, and how it's really hard to genuinely, authentically help your child in that true holistic fashion if we have an empty cup.
That's right. You're in a cycle of survival instead of thriving. So instead of surviving,
Yes.
thriving, and there is a real difference there. And everything takes time at the beginning because you're learning new skills, you're having a new education. But know that very quickly you develop the skill and you start doing things really quickly. If someone said, I make my own bread once a week and my own broth, I would think, oh, I don't have time for that. I could never do that. There is time because you get really quick and you get really smart.
Mm. Yeah.
Experience helps you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, for any mums that are watching or listening today, what are a couple of tips that you can give them today that they can start implementing, whether it's for themselves or for their child? What could they take away and start doing?
I think everyone is so different, but I think when you learn about the weed, seed, and feed, for example, what are the things you can take out? Can you seed some probiotics in the gut? Can you feed your good bacteria better? I would say pick, start with the lowest hanging fruit, pun intended. So maybe it's deep down, we know what we need to do. So someone's going to hear about gluten and dairy and be like, yikes, I don't want to do that. That's probably you need to do that, but you probably need to start small. So maybe it is, let me just change up breakfast. So when I changed my toast and avocado, which I said, I eat really healthy. I have toast, avocado, and eggs. None of that was good for me. The avocado was, but the toast made me incredibly tired at 11 o'clock. I was crashing. So I changed that to a fruit smoothie. That might not appeal to someone. It might be starting the day with lemon water. It's trying to or maybe it's stop drinking tap water and maybe get a water filter jug. It's little micro steps.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's these little micro steps, and the more you learn them, they have a compounding effect. So I wouldn't rush into things. I would really check in and see what are you able to take on, because you can get really inspired and motivated hearing ideas, and then you can then try and take on too much. And then you feel deflated, you're not getting the results as quick as you'd like, or you can't do it. You then beat yourself up, and then it all goes in the too hard basket. So I'd be gentle on yourself. I always say, pick one or two or three things that are really simple. Maybe it's a bit earlier. Maybe it's not a second coffee in the afternoon, or I know it's nothing sexy and exciting and new, but it's that consistency that drives results, and it's what you do at home. So I often say healing happens at home because it really happens the choices you make.
And I think it is the consistency of the small things. And I really hear you when you say it's not the big, sexy things, because it isn't. It is the small, consistent things that we do every single day that really mount up to have that big synergistic impact. And as you say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Just do one thing at a time. And I can't wait to share the stage with you. And I really think that the summit brings together experts from different perspectives, the nutrition, the lifestyle, the medical, the community, family support. On the night, what do you hope parents or practitioners that come will walk away with after hearing the conversations?
The same thing in a different way. So for mum, for the people, the families that come, I want them to leave feeling really empowered and excited, because we are so powerful and we're disempowered. For practitioners, I want them to be empowered and excited that nutrition and gut health can make a serious improvement in the whole treatment plan. So I think for me, empowerment is how I'd like people to leave that event. And I know between you, me, and the other experts, we will definitely deliver that.
Yeah, yeah. I cannot wait. My big passion in life is education. And as far as people don't wake up in the morning, Sharon, and think, I'm going to make a terrible decision for my health, they make the best decision they have with the knowledge that they have at the time. And so if we can give them more knowledge, then they're going to make better decisions, not just for themselves, but for their family and that ripple effect that it has throughout communities around Australia. So I'm really excited about the event. So, for anyone that is watching or listening, the event is on the 23rd of October. Please get your ticket soon. It will sell out. It is the first of its kind in Australia, and we are not recording the event. It will be a live event only. Please grab your tickets. Now, Sharon, before we depart, where can people find you for when they want to get in touch?
So, two places I recommend. Literally just 3 days ago, I launched my podcast.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Great work.
I'm loving the process and the feedback. It's called Heal Your Gut, Heal Your Life. And you can find that on Apple and Spotify, and it will be on YouTube as well. But you can also go to my website, Sharon M for Mother, Selby.com. And there I've got loads of recipes, loads of articles, resources that you can use so you can start getting empowered straight away.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today. I truly appreciate your time.
And it was a pleasure. I can't wait to be on stage with you.
Thanks so much for being with me today. Don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button below. Check out the links in the show notes for more health empowering information. And please ask me any questions in the comments below.